Hi, welcome to Mercurius Being. I am Amy Jensen and I'm here with your astro update for two events, the first of which is the changing of the nodes, which is happening exactly today, July 12th. Hopefully I'll get this up today. But no worries if I don't, because the nodes will be changing over into Aries and Libra, and they will be in those signs for the next year and a half until January 2025. But it is happening today as I record this at 11:52 a.m. Central Time, and here is the chart. And I will put this up on my blog this time. I don't think I did that the last lunation. And I'll just talk a little bit about the changing of the signs. I do want to note that the moon and Uranus are conjunct at 22 degrees Taurus and within 5 minutes of each other. And then, so it's just passed, the moon is just passed, or will be just passed. And then Jupiter is at 11:11 Taurus. So just some nice double numbers that, if you'd like to look them up numerologically, I just think it has a little bit of, well, along with this lunation, there's a little bit of inspired, just a little inspired, intuitive, like, I don't know, fairy dust going on with some of this energy. Maybe a little more divinity kind of like raining down to grace us a bit and help us a little bit as humanity, as we all need, well, don't all need help, but it sure doesn't hurt to get the help. All right, so the nodes are changing. What does that mean? So the nodes aren't planets, they are points symbolized by Rahu and Ketu, the head and the tail of the dragon. The moon, the north node is the moon crossing north as it crosses the ecliptic, and the south node is the tail. And so the tail, the south node, represents or symbolizes our fallback behavior. It can be behavior that we're more familiar with, so thus the fallback. But it is behavior that's not serving us in our evolutionary paths, no longer suits us, overused, overworn. We need to move into the north node, and that gives us new life and new avenues and new paths opening up. So since December 22nd, 2021, the nodes have been in Taurus and Scorpio. So individually and collectively, we have been facing and healing our Scorpio wounds, owning and integrating scorpionic shadows. So really owning all that is us. And by owning all the shadow, we integrate, we understand, we integrate, and we come integrator wholeness. And hopefully by doing that individually for our own work, wow, we can see that in other people, and we accept that other people are also doing their shadow work, of course, unless they are not, but we're all in this together, right? In Taurus, the north node was really about grounding ourselves then and experiencing the beauty of nature, experiencing the peace, stability, and groundedness. So really the opposite of maybe sometimes the nightmarish and gray area of Scorpio, and into kind of the simplicity and the black and whiteness in a good way of like clarity and just seeing things how they are in Taurus. So we've had a year and a half of that, bringing these shadows to light. And we're moving into the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node. So Aries, the first sign, the nodes move backwards. So we're moving from Taurus into Aries. So the first people who are going to get hit are the people who have planets and points at the end of all the cardinal signs. So all you late degree cardinal people, especially when Pluto squares the nodes here and after the new moon, and I'll come back for that. Fasten your seatbelts. You are in for some fun. How about that? After having a lot of fixed signs myself, going through the last year and a half, it's intense, but it really shows you the the blessing of it, in my opinion, is it shows you the directions and, again, just those areas of one's chart patterns that need more balancing, okay? Aries is all about immediacy. Aries is about being really honest in your reactions or in one's reactions. It's about bravery. Aries need to do acts of bravery. They feel alive, and all of us have Aries within our chart, whether we have planets or points in it, and it's also within our microcosm, the navel chakra, Manipura. Aries is about the willingness to confront, the willingness to have or cause confrontation by speaking or by standing in one's truth. The sense of immediacy, there's a sense of rawness and aliveness in Aries versus the measured politeness and sense of compromise in Libra. And of course, you're probably thinking, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the South Node behavior. So that means it's overdone, right? Too much compromise, okay? Putting on a happy face, okay? Keep your mouth shut, keep that peace, like extreme conflict avoidance, which over time, speaking from great experience here, I think I've got a PhD in this. Over time, it just screws everything up because it's just like this piece of gum in your bike spoke. And then over time, like the more you don't say anything, then the piece of gum just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's just this big chunk. And so the wheel of your chakra is just like kadunk, kadunk. And so it's just a balancing. I joke, but that's really it. It's just not saying anything, not speaking up, not really coming, just having that like Minnesota nice to the extreme so that no one really knows you and there's this big mask on all the time. But it's super nice. Also, it's a lot like some of these cults that you read about or see about, like the keep sweet, anything about just obey, just smile, look nice, don't say anything, don't cause any disharmony. Okay, so not that I'm just like, hey, just throw politeness out the window. No, but see where in your own life you're not being honest, where you're not being alive, where you're not speaking your truth, where you've compromised too much, because the next year and a half will give you the opportunity to really see that more clearly. Looking at Venus and Mars, Mars was the traditional or ancient ruler of Scorpio. Pluto is now, but we're still looking at the same micro area in the body, the same area of your microcosm. It's the navel chakra has Aries and Scorpio. The heart chakra has Libra and Taurus. So what we're doing now is when the North Node was in Taurus, we were in the heart center was our evolutionary path, and then the gut was kind of the fallback. So now we're flipping that. So the North Node in Aries, we're really going into our navel chakra and our will center. And the heart center, the vacillation of the heart center is the fallback. So exploring that internal duality between those two areas. So Venus, again, has that centripetal force, the drawing inwards, like the feminine in gender, in astrology, is the drawing in, receptive quality. And then Aries has that centrifugal force of moving outwards. So there's this moving outward sense now, whereas in the last year and a half is maybe drawing within. And physiologically, I was thinking about the navel, and of course, physiologically in yoga and energetically, but also posturally, taking the navel chakra, taking the navel specifically in your body, the navel, drawing the navel in toward the spine. And even as I'm doing this, I'm sitting up straighter. Navel toward the spine, then lift the navel up the spine. So right there is a nice centering and lift. You feel like it's almost up through the crown of your head. It's like this natural, like, hey, I'm standing upright, right? You're kind of coming right with yourself there. And then the heart center, physiologically and energetically, roll the shoulders back, draw the shoulder blades together, you know, open up the collarbones and kind of get this nice open heart center feeling. Okay, so this is even just doing those little things. Don't you feel a lot more open? You add in the relaxation of the throat, the jaw, the tongue. You are money, right? But it is a lot about that and just really being in the body and being strong and right within yourself and going forward. Okay. Let me see if I have anything else about that. Also, I was just thinking a little bit about the elemental change with this. So Taurus being earth, Scorpio being water, and now we're flipping into the elements of fire being the north node and then air being the south node. So thinking about the qualities of fire, of directness. Fire is ardor and enthusiasm. Fire consumes. Fire warms and heats. Fire illuminates. And fire in the body helps digestion. So it's an opportunity also, because I always think of Pitta, you know, the fire, digestive fire, but there's also that digestive fire and clarity and heat and fire of the brain, and then the brain in the gut to really integrate and digest one's experiences. And then we all know when you have clear digestion, how much more better you can go forward physically, because you're really feeling good because your digestive system is firing and there's clarity in your body. So thinking about that, and then thinking about then the Libra South Node, and thinking about air. And so this would be the more, you know, inharmonious aspects of air, which would be that it vacillates. You know, the Libra scales, which are the only glyph signifier in the zodiac that's not human. It's a metal scale. So it vacillates. It just vacillates. It's trying to find fairness. It's trying to find balance, right? Air scatters. Okay. Misdirection with air. Okay. An inconstant nature of air. You can't pin it down, right? And then I just thought of, and the Bohemian Rhapsody just popped into my head. It was like, any way the wind blows, you know. So that's the South Node. So as I see this, I've got a lot of air in my chart. I see that, right? So just kind of looking back, and we'll get this opportunity over the next year and a half of where the air isn't balanced, right? So that's all. No judgment to air. There's nothing wrong with air. Just understanding where it has been, is gone astray, right? Okay. So moving into the Cancer new moon, which will be exact on July 17th at 1:32 p.m. Central Time. And this is the chart. And as I did this, I noticed, so you've got the sun and moon in Cancer, and really no aspects from Venus, Mercury, Mars to the luminaries, and Saturn's kind of doing its own thing. It's still like, hey, I'm still working on this form and formlessness thing, formlessness and form thing. You know, you work this out. I'll be back in another time. But then we have Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron. Well, really the nodes, you know, everything else weighing in. So I kind of got this feeling of like the outer planets having more of a say in this lunation, and more like, again, granting, now I don't know, I've done a few cuts of this video, and I think it was in an earlier cut. I think I mentioned, or I was thinking of like the outer planets kind of having this like, not like fairy dust, but like sort of like, hey, we're looking at you guys, and through the vehicle of the sun and moon, you guys, I'm a Midwesterner, y'all on this planet, you guys, all of us on this planet, the outer planets are like, hey, humanity can use a little bit of, little help, a little insight, a little expansion and optimism from Jupiter, creative aspect with the quincunx Nope, with a quintile, excuse me. Uranus has a sextile to this, so just a little bit of insight, out of the blue insight. Neptune has a trine to the lunation, this like sense of grace and wisdom, you know, more spiritual aspect to that, like kind of big water. We've got the Cancer signs being lake water, but then we have the big water of Neptune, like adding its grace and wisdom. And then we have a little push from Pluto opposing it and kind of prepping up for its exact square to the nodes. So it's like push to transcend the ego, push to transcend the shadow, push to transmute and transform. And then we have Chiron squaring the lunation and like pushing to heal, like, come on, you can do this. That's what I just kind of get this image of the outer planets, like, you can do it, you know. So anyway, there we go. So at this lunation, some of the Cancer keywords I threw in: nourishing, fluids, cycles, changes, the mother or interlinked parent, the womb, the dark, I can't read my own writing, the dark fabric of the sky, water, and specifically lake water for me anyway, emotions, intuition, imagination, play, being birthed, being nourished, being nurtured, the sense of containing or containers, understanding your birthright, what you were born into, the sense of patterns, patterns of personality, behavior, familiar patterns, familial patterns, breaking patterns down into parts and pieces, and feeling into your place within these patterns. So thinking about the lunar nature, again, kind of the sense of mothering or the mother. And this doesn't mean you have to be a mother, but that sense of nourishing and nurturing and providing that type of energy to people. And they could be your literal children or your creations or other people in your life. But having that sense of this high mother energy of providing nourishment and nurturing them, but then letting them go, kind of allowing yourself to be in the background or the backdrop, just like the dark, receptive night sky. And again, extending this sense of nourishment and nurturance and this receptivity, you know, out into the world as far as friends and relatives, clients, patients, which kind of leads me to nursing and nurses also being very strong Cancer energy holders, healers as well. But really stepping into and being this higher level, abstract, velvety night sky. This sense of being a backdrop of the stars, providing that breadth, width, breadth of love and stability. So that's the one part of it, as you think of the lunar aspect, kind of the mothering aspect. And then thinking about being a child yourself, being the receiver of karmic patterns and noticing them with loving acceptance, but noticing them and seeing the fractal patterns of yourself, of your soul, almost glimmering star-like against the fabric of the velvety blue night sky. The sense of linking to the stars as your ancestors, your family lineage. I'm going to step back a little bit because I think I jumped into this thinking, I really got an image of sun catchers as I began this. So crystal sun catchers that reflect and refract the light, and the crystals in windows, but then also like the crystalline patterns of stars. Okay, so the night and day, the sun, the moon, and the play of light with both of those luminaries. So the sense then of child, of mother, of healing, of nurturing, of providing the backdrop for being the mirror, and then for being the sparkling, shining light, being the child. So thinking in and feeling into what can you heal for yourself. You know, it could be anything. You could think of like, I'm going to pick something within myself, something that comes up when I talk about these patterns within myself or within oneself. And like, just for instance, like self-worth, right? You know, oh, okay, I think I can take a stab at that one, this go round, right? Or speaking up in relationships, okay? That Aries Libra pattern that I referred to. Oh, okay, well, how am I doing with that one so far? You know, we maybe a C for effort, but or an A- for effort, but a C for execution thus far. And then thinking back, like along your lineage, like how were your ancestors at that? And then being, identifying as a female myself, and then thinking about, you know, my female ancestors, my mother, my lineage, you know, how did they handle that? Just noticing again with anything you pick up, I just picked up those two, just for examples, but anything that comes up within yourself, thinking about it within yourself, but then thinking about it with your lineage, okay? So just taking a moment and feeling into those things, into those patterns that may have come up, into yourself, and just noticing them all without blame, because we did each, in my opinion, choose these fractal patterns, right? Or the karma we've come in with, the parents we've come in with, we've chosen, I believe, to help us work through these fractal patterns. The fractal patterns probably, you know, being in our big tank of karma. So they're things we've been working on. We all know how that feels, this particularly sticky ones, right? And just noticing the resonance within yourself, the resonance within different members of your family, living, deceased, and then thinking, you know, everyone in your family has fractal patterns within themselves. And then extend it out. All of your friends have fractal patterns, and all of their associates and your associates, all of your business partners, your clients, your acquaintances. So that's a lot of there are many fractal patterns, right? Each of us holding that sun catcher pattern within us, those carved and chiseled angles of the crystals, of the diamonds. And then I was thinking of this whole pattern, like instead of the World Wide Web, it's like the worldwide, well, Indra's web, worldwide Indra web, world wide web of each of our fractal patterns, this beautiful universal pattern. And even if it's asymmetrical, even if it's angular, it's still pulsating with light and life and reflecting and refracting, right? It just, all of us together make this beautiful universal pattern. I mean, we're all, you know, we're all working on something, whether we know it or not, right? And just visualizing that loose, connected pattern that we're constructing and this beautiful uniqueness within each of us in that pattern. Just thinking about that as you go about your everyday life. And just kind of breathing into it as you breathe into yourself and your energy and your pattern, your specific individual, like snowflake-like pattern, and everyone you meet. And just celebrating that this world is alight, with your light, with everyone else's light, whether or not we're resonant with it or not, with each of these people. So just taking that moment to notice that, to feel into it, to celebrate it. Again, celebrating our humanity and noticing what we have more alike than different. Or noticing the differences as providing a rich pattern. Again, more interest. And just allow yourself also, another thought that came to me was like, there's so much information out there that I love that. So a little creature of the air, a bumblebee, just came by again, was there earlier. But so much information out there that give yourself permission to shut it off, to tune out a little bit, to clear yourself, go out in the sunlight, go out in the moonlight, maybe take baths, salt baths. Moon energy, Cancer energy is very sensitive. Moon rules, Cancer moon rules milk. When you think about milk in the fridge, can pick up all the odors of the fridge. So again, that idea of the container and the containing yourself and keeping your container clear so that you can reflect and refract light clearly and not through someone else's filter, or the filter of too much information or other people's thoughts and energies. So look out in the world for your individual symbols and the sounds, right? What is your operating system? It's going to be different than mine. Maybe we use the same process to find each of our individual operating systems, or we use similar processes. But again, each of us are different, so giving yourself time and space to find out how you operate and what your patterns and symbols are, and then feel into it. Feel it without trying to resolve anything. You know, that dissonance, that like seventh interval, you're like, you want to bring it up to an octave, you know, you want to bring it down to a fifth, you want to make it beautiful and harmonious, but sometimes the information lies in the dissonance. It's like, again, we need to live in that to feel it, and then to feel it in our human bodies to heal it, okay? Each bird has a song. Each creature has a shape. And just celebrating that uniqueness. You are unique unto yourself, but at the same time, you carry the patterns of all who came before you, all your ancestors, your lineage, and you carry the blueprint of all who come after you. Again, whether you have physical children or not, all your interactions, all your creations, all your communications and students, everything you put out in the world is a pattern that you're sharing, that you live on and with and in and through. So at this new Cancer moon, this dark moon, allow yourself to melt into the cool, velvety blue night sky. Immerse yourself into it, plunge into it, saturate yourself in its energy, every cell of your being. Resting into the blanket of the night sky where you feel held and safe and supported, where you're allowing yourself to feel recharged in this act of relinquishing. And after you've rested in this velvety blue night sky, cooled and restored yourself, begin to breathe once again into the patterns of yourself with kindness, with gentleness, with love and very, very great care. Give that degree of care to yourself. Every cell of your being, with every breath and every gesture, every thought and every word, gently rewiring your patterns with the resonance of wholeness, softening the edges, polishing the planes of light within you, and then awakening refreshed unto yourself, and turning yourself to face the world wholly and completely as you are, in all of your crystalline, angled, sun catcher-like beauty. Namaste.